I've achieved great health at a great age because every day since I can remember I've drunk a bottle of wine, except when I've been unwell, and then I've drunken too. No, these are not my words, or even the words of the Dean of Chapel, but the words of a Bishop of Seville in the 17th century. Today, as we confront the final deadly sin, that of gluttony, I have to acknowledge that there is a great tradition of clerics who like to have a little drink and a bite to eat every once in a little while. 18th century cartoonists couldn't get enough of fat, bewildered clergymen scoffing on massive birds and suckling pigs as the poor and destitute looked on. One famous example of a clergyman who liked his food was Parson Woodford, who kept a diary of his many, many dinners. Here is an entry from the 11th of June 1782, giving us an insight to his modest life. My gout pained me all night long. I tried Mrs. Smith's remedy to no benefit. We dined and supped at home. Oyster soup, veal pie, beef scallops, peas, and a pint of port wine. Finding myself quite poorly, I took some rhubarb on going to bed. This penchant for nourishing the body as well as the soul is not limited to the clergy of our shores. In Tuscany, there's even a pasta named for gluttonous priests, strozzapreti, so called because the greedy servants of God loved the pasta so much they would gobble it up without a moment's pause, choking themselves in the process. In the 16th century, jokes about fat Italian abbots were quite literally used as textbook examples of how to make people laugh. Back in Britain, we still see pub signs heralding the merry monk, and the nation's favourite TV vicar enjoys snaffling chocolate bars when she's not busy dealing with the problems of the parish of Dibley. However, there's more to gluttony than simply eating too many Kit Kats. In the 16th century, the Venetians had to ban people from gilding their food because the extravagance of their feasts was thought to be getting a little out of hand. It's this type of complexity that suits a sin which revolves around fussing and consuming and gnawing and chewing. Never one to miss an opportunity to systematize, Thomas Aquinas listed 5 forms of gluttony. Laute, eating too expensively. Studiose, eating too daintily. Nimis, eating too much. Praeparare, eating too soon. And ardente, eating too eagerly. All of these point to a common theme. It isn't making food good that's bad, but making food God that's bad. The sin of gluttony isn't about having one's fill of something. It's not enjoying a feast or indulging the desire for good things every so often. The sinful element in gluttony is overindulgence or overconsumption of anything to the point of waste, eating and drinking to excess, perhaps while the poor and needy go hungry, as we do nothing, is the dark element of what could be joyful contentment. You need to eat to sustain life. You can eat to enrich life, but you should not eat in an attempt to fulfill life. The same goes for gluttonous habits, which cover a range of activities. It could be food or booze, but equally, it could be endlessly scrolling through Instagram. It could be binge watching Netflix. When we consume for the sake of it, we need to stop ourselves and ask why. Why am I consuming this? What is it doing for me? What's it doing to me? Is it giving me something good or not? The antidote to gluttony, the virtue which exposes and destroys it, is temperance. By learning to say no to overindulgence, we are enabled to see our own needs and the needs of others with greater clarity. And we're also able to seek God with a greater clarity of mind. If all of our attention and energy is directed to food and our own satisfaction, then we become consumed with ourselves, selfish, and of no good to others, and that sin then distracts us also from God. This is where we see the basic unification of all the deadly sins. They're all selfish. They create a world in which alienates the other, a world in which no one else matters but our own wants and desires. And surely this is the narrowest, the smallest, most trivial and saddest of all possible worlds. It's up to us to strive to create a world which is more generous, more just, in which dignity and human kindness can flourish. In confronting sin within ourselves, we take responsibility for the world around us. But now, at the end of this series, I want to say a brief word about joy. In inviting us to a life of knowing Him, free from sin, God has not prohibited joy. Whether it's food or drink or sex or rest or wealth or self-respect or anger at injustice, God has not created us to be repressed, oppressed or miserable. I'm reminded again and again of the first miracle which Christ performed in the Gospels. It was not to raise the dead or to heal the sick. It was to turn water into wine at a wedding. People are often confused when they wonder why Christ did this. I found that Fyodor Dostoevsky in The Brothers Karamazov gives us a clue as to why he did this. It was not men's grief, but their joy that Christ first visited. He worked his first miracle to help men's gladness. He who loves men loves their gladness too. There is no living without joy. The person of Jesus Christ, God made manifest, devoted his life and death to the healing of the sick, to exposing injustice and hypocrisy, proclaiming the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the dead, and the coming of the kingdom. But his message was not, I have come to disperse this illegal gathering, and it was not, I'm now here that there will be no more fun. He said, I have come that they might have life, and that they might have it abundantly. Life is to be lived for the sake of love, and love, or charity, as the Authorized Version renders it, is patient, it's kind, not envious or boastful, arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way, it's not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. It's my hope that in rejecting the 7 deadly sins, we will find love in each other, but also in the God who created us, and in Him who is love, complete joy and fullness of life. Amen.